As you're about to turn in your paper, you need to make sure that what you're turning in is an MLA format. For those of you who are not familiar with it, that's what this whole screencast is going to be for. Your book, unfortunately, does not have the exact rules for MLA format for a paper. We do have sample papers, including the research paper on 1897 to 1905, that is in MLA format. The sample papers through much of the actual text are also in MLA format, but the rules are not there. So I'm going to go over the rules as well as show you how to complete those rules in Microsoft Word. So before you, I have a basic, simple, just plain fake paper, and we're going to go ahead and take this from the document that would have naturally come in if I just typed into Word into an MLA document. The first thing is we have some basic rules we have to follow, and those are going to be issues dealing with the overall text. One of the first ones is going to be our margins. So when you go to the page layout function, we'll go to the left side for margins, and we'll want to make sure our margins are 1 inch all the way around. If they are, they should look like what I've got here, and that's usually the default for Microsoft Word. Now, once I have the margins, my next goal, and I'm going to go back to the home page, is to get everything properly, the right text. Right now, a lot of the times when you pull up Microsoft Word, you're going to get Calibri 11. It is an okay text, but it is better to move it over to Times New Roman. So with your text, it's best to go ahead and highlight it all. Go up here to the top again. Now we're going to the font button. So instead of Calibri, we're going to choose Times New Roman. And Times New Roman actually happens to be a smaller font than Calibri, so we're actually going to move it up 1 to 12. That's typically what you're going to have for a paper. Now that we have our font done, our next step is going to be spacing. So from the same area, we're going to go to where the paragraph is, and we're going to go to the little button next to it, and we'll click, and that'll give us this pop-up. This pop-up will have a spacing here, and this is actually right now what is typically comes up when you open Microsoft Word. We don't want this. We want pure double spacing. So we want a before of 0 and an after of 0 and a line spacing of double. Now my paper is spaced correctly. But you'll notice with my paper, it's somewhat hard to tell my paragraphs apart. I do have to make sure that each of my paragraphs stand out, and we do that with the paragraph indent. So the beginning of each paragraph, I'm going to go up to them, and I'm going to use the tab key. The tab key should move each of the paragraphs, the very first line only, in an entire ½ inch, which is the format rules for paragraph indents. So now my paper has got all set up. Now I've got to do the fixing up the last material. So you notice here I have a title. It's going to look exactly like all the other material here. It's going to be the same font, the same size, no extra and nothing special about it, except that I'm going to need to center it. And that's where this button comes in play. And now I've got it centered. Now, other than that, I also need my heading. And my heading is going to give my reader information on who I am. That actually is the first thing in your text. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter to move the title down one line. I'm going to move head back up. Unfortunately, it's going to be centered, so I'm going to go over back to the left. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in my heading. My heading will always include my name. So for the moment, I am John Doe. It's usually going to then follow with your professor's name. So there's me. Then you're going to have your class, and we are English 1302. And go ahead and please put in your correct section number. And then the date which is due. I'm actually doing this right now on August 28th, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Now you'll notice as I was typing, it kept everything double spaced in Times New Roman, and that's exactly what we want here. We have one last step. Our last step is to fix our header portion. Now our header is where we're going to have our page number and our last name. To do that, we're going to go to the Insert button, Insert tab, and once we're there, we're going to go ahead and go towards the end and find the page number option. We'll click and get the additional information, and we're going to go to top of page. That's where it belongs, and we want to go to the far right of the page, which is usually the third one down. I'll hit Enter, and of course now my page number's in here. Please do this and do not put the page number in yourself. If you put your page number in yourself, you'll have a bunch of pages 1. By letting the computer do it, you will actually have a page 1, 2, 3, and 4, which I'll show you momentarily. Once your page number is in, go ahead and hit a space. Go ahead and type in your name, hit space, and close out the header, and you are done. Now we've got a MLA paper ready to turn in. And like I said, because of the way I did the number, I will have multiple numbered pages. So if I actually went to another page, and I'm just going to do it very simply, you'll notice my header is correct. So it's a lot easier to do that than a lot of other ways. Now, in addition to having our paper, we will need to have our works cited page at the end of our paper. What happens for many students is they go ahead and they make their works cited page its own page, and it shouldn't be. So when we have finished our paper, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just go to the next line, and we'll go to the insert function, and we're going to go to the page break. That'll give us a whole new page. At this point, we're going to go ahead and put in works cited, which is what it's called. Now we'll type that in, but it should be centered. So we'll go ahead and highlight it, go back to the home page, and center it. We'll go ahead and skip to the next line, and then we'll go ahead and put this back over here. Now our works cited page, like the entirety of our paper, is double spaced, so we're going to continue with that. I'm just going to do a quick entry for one of the recent works we just read. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. So one of the things we just read was by Shakespeare, and I'm following MLA format. Now this is in our textbook in the section on documentation that actually occurs just before the research paper on 1897. So of course I'm going to have my author's name. I'm going to have the title. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Then I need the title of my textbook. Our textbook happens to be the Norton Introduction to Literature. And I misspelled literature. You'll notice right now that my title here is in quotation marks, while my textbook is in italics. Large items like textbooks are in italics. Small items like our short stories and our poems are in quotation marks. Strangely enough, our plays, if they are long, like the one we're reading, Hamlet, it is also in italics like the textbook. Now we're not doing the first edition, so we need to get the edition information, and ours happens to be the shorter 11th edition. You'll notice I get to put 11 and the TH, and I get to use ED instead of edition. The next thing I'm going to need is my editor, and our editor is Kelly J. Mays, so we're going to go ahead and put editor. This time the ED is going to stand for editor, not edition. And I'm going to put in our editor's name. It's Kelly J. Mays. After I have my editor's name, I need my publication information. So that means I'm going to go to that front page and find out the first American city which it could be published in, and it happens to be New York. Now, after New York, I'm going to go ahead and put the actual publisher's name. Usually it's on the same area as the city, and of course it is in our book, and our happens to be W.W. Norton and Company. They actually do the ampersand, so we can actually cheat there, and we can do company. Now next we need the date it was published. That's actually going to be on the next page. We'll look for the copyright symbol, take the most recent date, and that's your date for your date. There's two more things we're going to need. We also need the page numbers. And of course this one appeared on 810 and only 810. And we're going to need our medium, it's print. Now in general this is correct except for the fact that it looks like a paragraph, and that's not how we want our works cited entries to look. We actually want them in hanging indent form. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to go back a space so that I have the first line on the left margin, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight it. I'm going to go right back to that paragraph area we did for spacing, and I'm going to go to the indentation function. From here I can go to special and go to hanging. It'll know that it's 0.5. I hit OK, and now I have the hanging indent, and my works cited page, if this was my only item I was using for my paper, is now correct and ready to turn in. Hopefully that helps. If you do have any questions, always feel free to ask, especially during class time, because most people were going to have problems with this.